On May 24, 1941, a shadowy dawn broke over the North Atlantic. As one of the most powerful warships ever built, the German battleship Bismarck slipped through fog and cold seas off the coast of Iceland. Its mission was bold: break into the Atlantic, disrupt Allied supply lines, and tilt the war in Germany's favor. But within just 3 days, the pride of the Kriegsmarine would be reduced to a flaming wreck, sunk beneath the waves in one of World War II's most dramatic naval confrontations. Task Force Commander Admiral Günther Lütjens stood silent on the Bismarck's bridge. A seasoned officer known for his caution, he now led a mission with only half the force originally planned. His objective was to break into the Atlantic and attack Allied merchant shipping. Escorting the Bismarck was the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen. But hope for a stealthy breakthrough had already evaporated. British ships had made contact first visually, then acoustically via hydrophones. The Royal Navy was aware of the German task force. The question wasn't if the Germans would be intercepted, but when. At 05:35 on May 24, a lookout spotted a smoke column on the horizon. Soon the silhouettes of HMS Hood and HMS Prince of Wales emerged. The order rang out: battle stations! The tension escalated as the enemy ships closed in. At a distance of 26 kilometers, the British opened fire. Shells splashed into the sea near Prinz Eugen. Captain Ernst Lindemann requested permission to return fire. Lütjens hesitated, wary of escalating a battle he hoped to avoid. But as salvos rained down closer, Lindemann insisted. Open fire! Lütjens finally gave the order. Bismarck and Hood exchanged their first thunderous volleys. Moments later, a fiery explosion tore through Hood. The shell struck her magazine, splitting the ship in two and sending her to the bottom in minutes. Only 3 of her 1,418 crew survived. Cheers erupted aboard the Bismarck, but Lütjens remained reserved. He ordered the guns redirected toward Prince of Wales, which returned fire despite multiple hits. Eventually, damaged and outgunned, the British battleship withdrew. The Bismarck had won the engagement, but not unscathed. A shell had ruptured an oil tank and damaged the ship's hull. Realizing he was now bleeding fuel and being tracked, Lütjens decided to abandon the raid and head for the French port of Saint-Nazaire for repairs. Prinz Eugen, still undamaged, was ordered to continue the mission alone. Meanwhile, British reconnaissance aircraft, particularly a Sunderland flying boat, picked up the Bismarck's oily trail. Lütjens' continued radio transmissions, intended to report progress, were intercepted by the British and used to track the ship's position. The Bismarck had won the engagement, but not unscathed. A shell had ruptured an oil tank and damaged the ship's hull. Realizing he was now bleeding fuel and being tracked, Lütjens decided to abandon the raid and head for the French port of Saint-Nazaire for repairs. Prinz Eugen, still undamaged, was ordered to continue the mission alone. Meanwhile, British reconnaissance aircraft, particularly a Sunderland flying boat, picked up the Bismarck's oily trail. Lütjens' continued radio transmissions, intended to report progress, were intercepted by the British and used to track the ship's position. At dawn on May 27, HMS Rodney and HMS King George V arrived. Bismarck's crew, aware of their fate, took battle positions. The British battleships opened fire. The bridge was quickly destroyed, killing most of the senior command, including Lütjens. The remaining officers attempted to coordinate return fire, but the ship's erratic course made aiming nearly impossible. Rodney and King George V poured shell after shell into the stricken vessel. Turrets jammed, fire spread, and by 0930, Bismarck fired her last shot. At 10 o'clock, the order was given to abandon ship. Explosive charges were set to scuttle the vessel. Moments later, the Bismarck slipped beneath the waves. Of the over 2,200 men aboard, only 114 survived. The sinking of the Bismarck was more than a military loss. It was a powerful symbol. The pride of Nazi Germany's navy was hunted, cornered, and destroyed in a relentless Allied pursuit. The British Navy's determination and coordination, coupled with the resilience of aging biplanes and the brute force of capital ships, had brought down a giant. The battle marked the end of Germany's hopes to dominate the Atlantic. From that day forward, the Kriegsmarine would never again attempt such a bold surface raid.